January 17, 1945. The western edge of the Ardennes forest is wrapped in frozen silence. Snow crunches under boots hardened by months of retreat. The air smells of pine resin, cordite, and cold iron. Across a shallow valley, dark shapes sit half-buried in white drifts, rows upon rows of American anti-tank guns, their barrels angled like iron fingers pointing toward the Reich. German infantrymen pause, not from fear of immediate fire, but from disbelief at the sheer number of them. This moment matters because by the winter of 1944-45, the war in the West had become a contest not only of tactics, but of production, logistics, and ideology. Germany had entered the conflict believing quality would overcome quantity. Superior training, superior weapons, superior will. These were the promises sold to its soldiers. Yet here, at the edge of defeat, those promises collided with a reality forged in American factories, rail yards, and ports stretching from Detroit to New Orleans. For years, German infantry doctrine had emphasized maneuver and combined arms, supported by limited but powerful anti-tank weapons. Early victories in Poland and France reinforced the belief that speed and precision could compensate for numerical inferiority. The American army, by contrast, was often portrayed in German briefings as inexperienced, overly mechanized, dependent on mass rather than skill. Many German soldiers expected to encounter a few scattered guns, hastily emplaced, manned by poorly trained crews. What they experienced instead was density, gun after gun after gun. The 57mm M1 anti-tank gun, an American adaptation of the British 6-pounder, lined hedgerows, crossroads, and forest edges. Behind them stood heavier weapons, the 3-inch M5 anti-tank gun, capable of penetrating the frontal armor of a Panther at combat ranges. And beyond these static defenses were tank destroyer battalions, equipped with M10s and M18 Hellcats, moving rapidly to seal any breakthrough. German after-action reports from late 1944 repeatedly mention unexpectedly strong American anti-tank concentrations. One Wehrmacht infantry division operating near Aachen noted that American defenses showed no gaps and that destroyed guns were immediately replaced. Another report from the Ardennes offensive described American positions as bristling with anti-tank artillery in numbers previously unseen. These were not exaggerations born of panic. By 1944, the United States had produced over 86,000 anti-tank guns of various calibers. The American industrial system, mobilized after 1941, had transformed steel into weapons at a pace unmatched in history. The War Production Board coordinated factories, standardized designs, and ensured that even secondary units were well equipped. Where Germany struggled with shortages of tungsten, fuel, and transport, the United States shipped guns, ammunition, and spare parts across an ocean and still had enough to stockpile. For the German infantryman, the contrast was stark. He carried a Panzerfaust or Panzerschreck, effective but short-ranged, often issued in limited numbers. Ammunition was precious. Replacement weapons were rare. Facing him were American crews with ample shells stocked beside their guns, replacement barrels nearby, and trucks idling in the rear, ready to resupply. The recurring symbol of this encounter was the gun barrel itself, cold, uniform, multiplied beyond expectation. To German eyes, these barrels represented more than firepower. They represented time, labor, and confidence. Each gun meant steel mined, smelted, machined, transported, and issued without interruption. Each gun suggested a nation that did not fear running out. Documented American field manuals emphasized redundancy, overlapping fields of fire, multiple guns covering the same approach, reserves positioned to move forward if one position was lost. This philosophy was visible on the ground. When German units knocked out a gun with artillery or infantry assault, another would open fire from a different angle. Survivors recalled that the silence after destroying one gun was brief, soon replaced by the crack of another. This abundance reshaped perception. Some German soldiers began to understand that they were not fighting merely an army, but an economic system. Letters intercepted by Allied intelligence reveal a growing awareness. One infantryman wrote home that the Americans seemed to have endless material, adding that it is like fighting a factory. The transformation was ideological as well as tactical. German propaganda had framed the war as a struggle of superior spirit against decadent mass society. Yet the American anti-tank guns suggested something else: a democracy capable of organizing itself efficiently, of turning civilian industry into military power without collapsing inward. The guns stood as evidence that participation, coordination, and scale could be strengths rather than weaknesses. Even captured German officers remarked on this shift. Interrogation reports note surprise at how quickly American units replaced losses. One officer stated that destroying American equipment felt meaningless because there is always more. As the war moved eastward toward the Rhine, this realization spread. The gun barrel became a quiet teacher. It taught that abundance could be disciplined, that quantity could be precise, and that freedom, when industrialized, could be overwhelming. By the spring of 1945, German infantry no longer asked how many guns the Americans had. They assumed the answer was always more than enough. The symbolic barrel, once a tactical obstacle, had become a marker of inevitability. In the end, these anti-tank guns did more than stop armored advances. They dismantled illusions. They showed that ideology unsupported by resources cannot endure. They revealed that a society willing to invest broadly in workers, factories, and shared effort could project power across continents. When the snow melted and the guns were pulled forward again, the lesson remained. Steel alone did not win the war, but the ability to produce it, distribute it, and place it deliberately in the path of tyranny reflected a larger truth. Freedom, when organized, can be inexhaustible.